Hello, welcome to the Liverpool FC Journal. I'm Owen James. This is your Liverpool news update, guys, for Monday, the 24th of November. I don't know it's not a good morning. I mean, it's Monday, first of all. I'm shattered. I spent the entire day in London yesterday as well, which is depressing on the grounds. Obviously, Arsenal looked fantastic yesterday. I mean, look, fair play to them. They're a good side. They've got a hell of a squad there. Look a hell of a lot better than we do this season. I don't know what to say. After that performance on Saturday, I think there is so many issues that need to be addressed by the team and Arne Slot and the coaching staff. Massive number of issues. And also by the board and by the football people at the football club. I want to address one thing, though. And I get that social media is an exceptionally poisonous place. I understand that quite fully, how poisonous social media can be. But I want to just say this. Some of the fans on there are unbelievable. Genuinely unbelievable. I think there's some within our fan base that need to remember that the badge says LFC, not Salah FC. If you dare to criticise Mo Salah, you are suddenly a plastic fan. You are not a real fan. You're a disgrace. You're an imbecile. You're an Everton fan. You've got a brain, I think, full of Chewits, I think was one I read today. Let's face facts. Mo Salah has been absolute garbage this season, an absolute garbage. And how that man stayed on the field on Saturday, yes, for the first half an hour, he did quite well. I'll give him that. But for the next 60 minutes, he stank the stadium out. Yet he stayed on the field. And I don't get it. I don't get how he gets picked week in, week out. I don't get how he stays on the field week in, week out when he is, quite frankly, one of the worst players on the pitch week in, week out. It's unaccountable. We'll talk about that in the video. I think as well, people say, oh, you should, what's that quote that everybody comes out with? The quote that's taken totally out of context. If you can't support us when we're losing, then don't support us when we're winning, which is a quote that was taken actually totally out of context. So, basically these fans don't want us to criticise the team's performance. I've seen people this morning, don't slag off Arne Slot, he won the league last season. Yes, but this season it's been garbage. This season the football has been slow, boring, turgid. It's been pathetic. It's been awful. There's no style to it. It's too slow. There's no fight. There's no battle in the team. Saturday, there was literally no fight. Literally no fight. I think with the exception of Dom Szoboszlai, not one of those players looked like they give a shit. I mean, genuinely didn't look like they give a shit. And this is not just this season, guys. This dates back to last season. This dates back to the fact that once the title was secured, they were on the beach and they haven't ever got off the beach since that. And I think, this whole Dutch laid-back attitude isn't helping the club. It really isn't. And you can look back across the Dutch teams of old. You look back across those great Dutch international sides that had all the talent in the world, yet never really achieved anything because of the fact they were just no killer instinct, far too laid back. But this is worth sharing with you. Slot's record since PSG in March, since we lost on penalties to PSG. 30 games, so, we're getting towards a season nearly completed there. 13 wins, 14 defeats. That's right, 14 defeats. So the majority of games have ended in defeat for Liverpool since that. Not the majority. Okay, the majority out of when you compare wins and defeats, obviously you can put three draws into that as well. The win rate for Arne Slot in those last 30 games is 43%. 43%. The percentage of games lost is 47%, roughly. 6 defeats in 7 games. First time we have lost 2 in a row. 3-0 since 1965. Worst start to a season since Brendan Rodgers was sacked in 14-15. Roy Hodgson was sacked for losing 9 in 31. Just let that resonate with you for a minute. Roy Hodgson, who everyone, pretty much accepts that was a dreadful period in the club's history, was sacked for losing 9 games in 31. Arne Slot has lost 14 in 30. Now, please don't come on social media or any sort of channel and criticise anyone for criticising this team. Because if you're accepting this, if you're going with the happy clapper comment of just get behind them, stop slagging them off, stop criticising them, then you're a happy clapper. You're part of the problem with the football club at this moment in time, and you need to sort your act out. You need to give your head a wobble. You really do, because that is wholly unacceptable. What if you think that is an acceptable record for a Liverpool manager at any point in a season, then I'd question whether you're on the right side of Merseyside. I mean, genuinely, that is a shocking record. That is an absolutely shocking record. 14 defeats in 30. I mean, honestly, like I said, I last season watched the end of last season, and I'll be honest with you, it worried me. Post that Spurs game, the football was bad. It wasn't great, and they didn't play well. They were in proper party mode. They just didn't give a shit anymore. They finished the season in completely the wrong way, and it's carried on into the season. Now, I understand there's obviously, there's comments, people say, oh, it's transitional season. Yeah, but, you've still got a lot of time. The majority of players starting the game were here last season. So it isn't really that massively a transitional season, because you've still got a lot of the same players who were here last season starting games for Liverpool. You've still got a large proportion of last season's starting 11 still playing. Yes, I know he's kind of ripped up the style. He's kind of taken away Jurgen's, up and at them aggressive attitude and thrown it away a little bit and tried to go for this very much different attitude of slow, laborious build-up, which to me doesn't really work. But if you go to the game on Saturday, which I think he got the starting 11 very badly wrong. I think he should have started Ekitike ahead of Isak. Isak was dreadful. Szoboszlai should never have been at right back. For me, Calvin Ramsey comes in. Forest were playing, or you put Curtis Jones at right back or something. You don't take Dom Szoboszlai out of midfield. The guy is the engine room of the midfield. You take him out of the midfield, you destroy the midfield. Simple as. But you look at that team that was out there on Saturday. 9 of that starting 11 were here last season. 9. Okay, so yes, I know we've brought in Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz, Isak, Ekitike, etc. And Georgia Mamalashvili has kind of come in this season. But 9 of the 11 who were on the field on Saturday were here last season. So the transitional argument of bedding new players in is a bit weak, really, for me. Also, and this is difficult, this excuse of the Diogo Jota thing is just pathetic now. It's getting to be a joke. It is getting to be a joke. It was never an excuse at the start of the season when they were winning game after game after game. Yes, they weren't playing particularly great, but they were still winning. It was never brought out then, was it? And the one thing I'll say is, if any of those players that played on Saturday don't feel that they are capable of playing because of the grief of Diogo Jota's death, then they shouldn't be on the pitch. Simple as. Simple as. You don't put yourself in that position. If you lose a family member and you can't cope with it, you don't go into work. That's how it works. That's life, right? That's life. But people lose people all the time, and you've just got to get on with it. You've got to get on with it. I lost my mum in May this year to cancer, and my mum was a massive part of my life, right? But I don't use an excuse. I don't use it as a reason to not put in my 100% effort at work. I don't use it as an excuse not to carry on with life. I don't use it as an excuse. Like I said, my mum was the biggest part of my life, massive part of my life, and it was an awful way to lose her. And you know what? I'm not using it as an excuse. If something goes wrong in my life, I don't use that as an excuse. And I think using the death of Diogo Jota, which some people are doing at the moment for Liverpool's performances, is cowardly, absolutely cowardly. It's disgraceful. Look, there's a lot of issues with this side. Like, the football is boring. The football is turgid. The football is easy to play against. We're one of the easiest teams to play in the Premier League. I mean, Slot had all week to prepare for this game. He had the international break to prepare for this game. And Sean Dyche is hardly a tactical genius. The guy will always lines up his teams in the same way. 10 behind the ball, low block, kick, bite, foul, scrap, kick, scratch, bite, everything. Right? And that's what they did. And it worked. And look, fair play to them. Look, I'm not criticising them. Forest deserved to win. They were the better side on Saturday. They should have won by more, realistically. We can debate the first goal should have been disallowed, but then their second goal that was disallowed shouldn't have been disallowed. So, there you go. That's the 3. But it could have been more. They had more heart, more fight, more passion. They put their bodies on the line. They really put the effort in. When it came to defending, they were throwing themselves at the ball, getting in the way of the ball. You look at our defenders, you look at Konate and Virgil, and Virgil's been a bit of a joke with this season. They're like, ooh, don't hit me with the ball. Might spoil my hair. Or it might ruin my good looks. It's pathetic. There's just no bottle there whatsoever. They're the 2 central defenders in Liverpool's first 11, Virgil and Konate, are cowards. They're absolute cowards. And as for Ibrahima Konate, that guy, wrong screen. That guy should never, ever, ever be given a new contract. He was absolute dog shite on Saturday, and he stank the stadium out. The first goal is that, the corner is his fault. He should have cleared it out for a throw in. I don't know how he concedes the corner from that. He was genuinely dreadful. And then he's got this smirk on his face when he's been taken off at 55 minutes. Smirk. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't deserve a pay rise. He doesn't deserve a new contract. He deserves booting out of Merseyside at the first possible opportunity. The guy is just absolute shite this season. You can count on the fingers of one hand his decent performances. And look, I know at the moment we have no other options. I get that. Joe Gomez was on the bench on Saturday, but apparently he wasn't fit. So if he wasn't fit, why the fuck was he on the bench? Why was he on the bench if he's not fit? If he can't play, why put him on the bench? To me, it makes zero sense. And if Joe Gomez is continually injured and not available and can't play, why are we? What are we doing? Why are we having him as a back? It just blows my mind that Slot does this. It really does. And honestly, if Liverpool don't sign one, maybe two centre-backs in January, then someone at the club needs sacking, because they must be delusional. Because Giovanni Leone is gone for the season. Konate is just head's gone. Virgil is soft as shite at the moment. And Joe Gomez seriously cannot stay fit. So what are the options? Honestly, something's got to change at the back. The defence is a joke. And I get that we're missing both our starting right backs, but I think Slot made a big mistake there. You know what? If I'm Calvin Ramsey, I'm going to the manager today. Boss, I want to move. I want to move in January, because you ain't going to play me. Because that was the perfect opportunity to play Calvin Ramsey there. It's Forest. They're 19th in the league. It's not like we're playing Arsenal or Manchester City, or Manchester United or Chelsea or Arsenal. We're playing Nottingham Forest. No disrespect to Nottingham Forest, but if you can't trust Calvin Ramsey against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League, you're never going to be able to trust him. Never going to be able to trust him. So, I don't get that one. Also, a serious conversation needs to be had about this man, Mo Salah. I mean, honestly, the guy stank. First half an hour, yeah, I'll give you that. He was decent. It was all right. Wasn't brilliant, wasn't terrible. Did okay. The rest of the game, he stank the place out. And in the second half, there was a issue. There's a bit of a time when he was kind of in a battle, I think with Murillo, or was it with the other guy, the other centre-half, whose name escapes me now, and he just falls on the floor and tries to get a free kick. He was outmanned. He'd given up. His performances this season have stank the joint out. And yet you've got fans coming on here saying, oh, it's not his fault. He's not getting the ball enough. Well, whenever he does get the ball, he doesn't do fuck all with it other than kick it into defenders' legs or balloon it into the stand. There's some fans, seriously, some Liverpool fans that need to remember that badge says LFC, that this club is called Liverpool FC. It is not called Salah FC. And honestly, give your heads a fucking wobble. Because he is genuinely piss poor this season and needs to be dropped, benched now. And for me, Chiesa and Gamoa, one of those two needs to start. Because what Slot's doing to Chiesa and Gamoa this season as well is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgraceful. Now, look, do I think the manager should be sacked? Yes, I do actually think the manager should be sacked, because this club is heading backwards at a rapid rate of knots. And it's not just this season, it's last season. He took Klopp's team. Yes, he kind of tweaked it a little bit, but he took Klopp's team, who still had the muscle memory of playing in the Klopp way, and won the league with a few tweaks. Okay, got them over the line by keeping them fit. And I think, had Jurgen been able to keep a team fit all season, which is something always Jurgen struggled with, we probably would have won the league under Jurgen. However, this season, he's ripped up the style, he's ripped up the way of playing, he's put in his own way of playing, he's brought in new players. He doesn't play them all the time, but the team's gone backwards. It's gone massively backwards, hugely backwards. Now, I get that Liverpool have no plans to sack Arne Slot. That is an official quote. Well, not official quote, that's from Fabrizio Romano, okay? Currently been obviously reported by Fabrizio Romano this morning. That comment, that quote is that Liverpool have no plans to sack Arne Slot. That's what they're saying this morning. Okay, so literally no plans to actually part company with the manager. And look, you may welcome that. You may think that's a great thing. You may think that's a bad thing this morning. And it is, I think, dividing the fan base, hugely dividing the fan base. Of course it is. But something needs to be done. Something's got to change now. Some people have talked about bringing Johnny Heitinga back. He obviously was sacked by Ajax and now he's out of work. Maybe he was the tactical mastermind behind the title win last season. Maybe he was the guy who actually took us to victory last season, and it wasn't actually Arne Slot, and now it's left to Arne Slot. He's actually really struggling without his man, without Johnny Heitinga. That is a possibility. I get that. But something has to change, because what is happening at this moment in time is literally not acceptable. This was the quote from Fabrizio Romano. This is from Twitter. This is from X. Okay, this is from the actual X channel from Fabrizio Romano. It says, Liverpool are not currently thinking about replacing Arne Slot, and they are not in talks with any other manager. I've got to say, one of the other things that does get me is you get fans on X and on other accounts go, well, if you want Slot sacked, tell me who you want to replace him with. Not my problem. I'm not a scout. I'm not a football club with $1 billion or $1 million scouting network all across the world. I don't have time to sit and watch 20, 30 other teams from all across the world and look at their manager and evaluate. Why? Because I've got a full-time job. It's not my fucking job to find a new manager. If it was, I'd be working as a scout for Liverpool. I wouldn't, I would be working as a Premier League scout. I would not be sitting here talking to you or working in a supermarket. That's not what I'd be doing. So please don't you come at me with that stupid excuse of, oh, you can't name anyone to replace Klopp. That's because it's not my job. When Jurgen Klopp announced he was going, you could have said to the fans, well, do you tell me who you want to replace him? I don't. Xabi Alonso would have been one that was way up on the list of a lot of fans, I think. Carlo Ancelotti would have been on the list of things. Hansi Flick would have been on the list of names. There'd been a number of people. I very much doubt that any fan would have gone with Arne Slot. So please don't come up with that pathetic excuse. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on the present situation at Liverpool Football Club. Please drop me a comment. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching Liverpool FC Journal. I'll catch you on the next one.